I've started thinking a lot more about the process that goes into making a piece of work, and how when you're looking at a piece, you can't always see that whole process. There's this whole story about how it was created, and that brings like more intrigue to what I'm looking at. I've always been like a very curious person and caring of the relationships that I establish with people. But I think I have become more thoughtful and curious about the ways that experiences we've all had in our lives impact how we navigate the world. And I think there is a connection between thinking about the history of a piece of art and the history of a human. My name's Annie Bobbitt, and I am an education supervisor in family programs at the Walters Art Museum. A typical day. So I teach a few different programs at the museum. I teach early learning programs. So the early learners at the museum are babies through 5-year-olds. We all gather together. The classes are about 15 kids, and we introduce whatever our theme is for the month.
It says color.
And then do it down here.
Color, shape.
Yeah, you have colors down here.
The classes start introducing that theme. We learn a lot of sign language. We read a story, and then we spend about a half an hour to 40 minutes in the galleries. It's very interactive. You know, working with little kids, you gotta like keep them engaged in many different ways. So we do a lot of singing and making art in the galleries, storytelling. We do that for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then go down into the studio and make a piece of art inspired by what we did.
What shape is that?
I love being in the galleries with the kids. I think it's just an incredible to like watch the kids and their parents look at art together. They start to have these conversations with the kid that they brought, and it's this like, oh my gosh, I can bring my kid to a museum and it's not boring because they're engaging with what they're seeing. And you know, they're not talking about the history of a piece of art or who's depicted in a portrait, but it's these conversations about like, what colors do you see, what clothes are they wearing, making up stories about the people or animals. So I love that time at the galleries. It's like the most magical. I think that learning through play and creativity is really powerful. And so I hope that as they continue on in their lives, they keep this little nugget of like, okay, I can have fun while I'm learning. If I can be creative in whatever I'm doing. Math is not often thought of as a creative field, but you know, we count and we add in the galleries, and it's been in this like creative way. And so I hope that the kids are taking these little like nuggets of creativity is powerful, and they're comfortable in museum spaces or other cultural institutions.
Wow. Green, blue, yellow.
I was teaching a group of 3 to 5-year-olds, and this little boy named Max Noodleman was in my class. And we were talking about what it means to be an artist and to create things. And he raised his hand and he was like, Miss Annie, creativity lives in the basement of your brain. And I was like, tell me more, Max, like what do you mean? And he said, you know, the basement is sometimes a little scary. It can be dark, you don't know what's down there, but you have to go down and see. Like you have to go into your brain and like really go down to the basement of your brain and find your creativity, because it's so important. And it was, you know, this came out of the mouth of a 5-year-old, and it was this like, oh my gosh, you're right, Max. That's so true. And so I get to have those moments where these kids say things that I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that is brilliant. And those are the moments that impact me a lot as a professional, but also as a just human in the world. They're having a moment in the museum and thinking about things in a way that's like, yeah, no, this is why I'm doing my job. One of the things that I feel like is true in my core as a human is that no matter what jobs I hold, I'll always be wanting to introduce people to the wonders of creativity and like what that can do for like our souls, like how we feel about ourselves and the world. So whether that's a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old, like that is something that I hope to always impart on people.